Respect is not something we demand. It's something we communicate, moment by moment, through the way we show up in the world. Every conversation, every boundary, every pause before reacting is an invitation for others to understand how to treat us. And whether we realize it or not, we are constantly teaching people who we are and what we will allow. People learn how to treat you long before you ever say a word. They study your behavior, your boundaries, your tone, and the way you respond to the smallest moments. Without realizing it, you are constantly teaching the world what is acceptable, what is not, and how you expect to be treated. The truth is simple. People take their cues from you. If you minimize your needs, they assume your needs don't matter. If you speak harshly to yourself, they believe harshness is something you tolerate. And if you choose silence over honesty, they fill in the gaps with their own assumptions. Self-respect is not an inner feeling, it is an outward language. Every time you overextend yourself just to be liked, you show others that your time isn't valuable. Every time you let something slide that deeply hurts you, you signal that your feelings are optional. Every time you laugh off disrespect to avoid conflict, you teach them that your dignity is negotiable. And because human beings naturally respond to the environment they're given, they begin interacting with you based on the version of yourself you present. But the moment you truly begin valuing yourself, everything shifts. When you make choices that protect your emotional well-being, people notice. When you set boundaries with clarity instead of guilt, people adjust. When you stop apologizing for your existence and start standing firmly in your worth, the world rises to meet that standard. Respect doesn't grow from demands, it grows from consistency. And people feel the difference between someone who's pretending to be confident and someone who treats themselves with genuine care. Think of the people you admire. What stands out is not perfection but self-honor. They speak with intention, not fear. They say no without explaining their entire life story. They protect their peace without punishing others. And because they respect themselves, others naturally respect them too. This isn't luck, it's alignment. The inner world and the outer behavior match. This doesn't mean you have to be rigid or self-centered. It simply means you stop abandoning yourself to maintain relationships or avoid discomfort. When you say what you mean with kindness, when you enforce boundaries without anger, when you walk away from what hurts you instead of tolerating it, you teach people how to love you. You show them that your heart is valuable, your time is precious, and your presence is a privilege, not an entitlement. The truth is that people can feel the energy of someone who values themselves. They respond differently. They step up, speak differently, and behave more thoughtfully. And if they don't, you recognize that it's not your job to shrink until they change. It's your job to honor yourself so deeply that anyone who cannot meet you with respect naturally falls away. So if you want to transform the way people treat you, start with the way you treat you. Show yourself compassion. Hold yourself with dignity. Speak to yourself with kindness. Choose actions that reflect your worth. When you do, the world will begin to learn, through your example, exactly how you deserve to be treated. Respect grows not from grand gestures or impressive performances, but from the steady rhythm of consistency and authenticity. People trust what they can predict. They trust what feels real. When your words align with your actions, when your values match your behavior, and when you show up the same way whether someone is watching or not, you create the kind of integrity that naturally earns respect. Authenticity doesn't mean oversharing or being raw all the time. It means being genuine, grounded, and honest in how you move through the world. It means not shape-shifting to please, not shrinking to avoid conflict, and not pretending to be someone you're not just to earn approval. Consistent behavior tells others who you truly are. Anyone can be kind once. Anyone can be patient on a good day. Anyone can speak beautifully about integrity when life is smooth. But the real measure of character appears in the moments when pressure rises, when disappointment hits, when frustration builds. How you act in those moments, how steady or honest or accountable you remain, shapes the way others see you far more than any single moment of charm or inspiration. This is why authenticity matters. People don't need you to be perfect, they need you to be real. They need to know that what you say can be trusted because they've watched your behavior and seen that it aligns with your truth. They need to know that when you say yes, you mean it. When you say no, it's clear and stable. When you set a boundary, you honor it. When you make a mistake, you take responsibility instead of hiding behind excuses. This kind of consistency creates emotional safety, and emotional safety is the foundation of respect in any relationship, personal, professional, or intimate. On the other hand, when your behavior swings between extremes, Kind one day, dismissive the next. Honest in one moment, evasive in another. People stop relying on your intentions. Inconsistency breeds uncertainty, and uncertainty weakens trust. You can't build respect on unpredictability. You build it by showing up with the same core values, even when circumstances shift. Authenticity also invites others to drop their defenses. When people see you living honestly, choosing truth over image, choosing courage over comfort, they feel more free to show up authentically themselves. Respect becomes mutual because you're modeling a kind of relational clarity that allows other people to be real too. You're creating space for honest conversations, genuine connection, and shared accountability. And there is nothing more grounding than being around someone who is consistently themselves. No masks, no manipulation, no performance. So if you want respect to deepen in your relationships, focus less on being impressive and more on being true. Let your behavior reflect your values, not your fears. Let your words carry the weight of follow-through. Let your presence be steady enough that people know what version of you they will get. Because ultimately, respect doesn't grow from perfection. It grows from a lived, daily commitment to authenticity and the courage to be the same person in every room you enter. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are the language of truth that keeps relationships honest. When you set a boundary, you are not rejecting someone, you are revealing what is real for you. You are saying, this is what I can offer. This is what I cannot. This is where I feel safe. This is where I feel overwhelmed. Boundaries are an expression of clarity, not control. They protect your energy, your time, and your heart, not because you are unkind, but because you understand that real connection cannot grow where truth is avoided. So many people fear boundaries because they confuse them with punishment. They worry that saying no will hurt someone's feelings or push them away. But the reality is the opposite. Lack of boundaries slowly erodes relationships through resentment, confusion, and unspoken expectations. When you agree to things you don't want, silence yourself to avoid conflict, or tolerate behavior that breaks your spirit, you create distance, not closeness. You begin to disconnect from yourself and eventually from the people you're trying to protect. Healthy relationships require honesty, and honesty requires boundaries. They make your inner world visible. They teach others how to love you well. Instead of guessing what you need, people learn directly from your clarity. Instead of walking on eggshells, they know the edges and respect them. Boundaries remove the mystery that leads to misunderstanding. They create stability. They create trust. They turn fear-based connection into grounded connection. Setting a boundary is an act of self-respect, but it is also an act of respect toward others. You are giving people the gift of knowing how to treat you. You are offering them a chance to stay in your life in a way that works for both of you, not just for them. And you are giving yourself permission to show up authentically without resentment hiding beneath the surface. The fear of losing people often keeps us from setting boundaries, but the truth is simple. People who love you want your honesty, not your exhaustion. People who value you want to know how to support you, not how to stretch you thin. And those who react with anger or guilt when you set a boundary are often benefiting from your lack of one. Their reaction doesn't mean your boundary is wrong. It means your honesty revealed something they didn't want to face. Boundaries are not about withdrawing love. They are about letting love live in a healthy space. They allow you to stay connected without abandoning yourself. They help relationships breathe. They create structure around your emotional well-being so you don't collapse under the weight of carrying more than you can hold. When you embrace boundaries as truth-telling, you stop apologizing for protecting your peace. You stop shrinking to keep the peace. You stop saying yes when your body screams no. And you start building relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, not silent sacrifice. A boundary doesn't say, I don't care about you. It says, I care about us enough to be honest. Your presence carries more weight than your words because people feel you before they hear you. The energy you bring into a conversation, the calmness, the frustration, the openness, the defensiveness, sets the emotional tone long before any message is delivered. Humans are wired to read subtle cues: your posture, your breath, your facial expression, the pauses between your sentences. All these signals shape how others respond to you. When you enter a space grounded, clear, and emotionally regulated, you invite others into that same level of steadiness. When you enter with chaos, tension, or unspoken anger, you unconsciously pull others into that emotional current. Your presence is a kind of emotional leadership. If you stay composed when conflict rises, the other person often softens. If you stay curious instead of immediately reacting, you create space for honesty instead of defensiveness. If you speak with intention instead of urgency, people feel safer to share the truth rather than protect themselves. The way you show up becomes the invisible framework that guides the connection. It is not about being perfect or calm 100% of the time. It is about being aware of the impact your internal world has on the external interaction. Many people underestimate how contagious emotions are. When you're anxious, the room tightens. When you're irritated, conversations become sharp. When you're disengaged, people withdraw. Without saying anything, your presence signals to others whether they should relax, guard themselves, open up, or shut down. This is why emotional regulation matters, not because you must hide your feelings, but because you want your feelings to be expressed in ways that align with your values. Taking a breath before responding is not weakness, it is emotional wisdom. Pausing before reacting is not detachment, it is respect. Being intentional with your tone is not manipulation, it is maturity. And showing up with emotional clarity, even in difficult moments, creates stability. People trust those who know how to stay connected to themselves when things get messy. When you walk into conversations with awareness instead of reactivity, you teach others how to interact with you. They learn that you don't communicate through yelling, shutting down, sarcasm, or impulsive reactions. They learn that emotional safety is your standard. And when emotional safety becomes your standard, people tend to rise to meet it or naturally fall away if they cannot match it. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending to be fine. It means taking responsibility for the energy you bring. It means recognizing that your presence influences outcomes more than your arguments. It means understanding that how you enter a room often determines the kind of connection that follows. When you embody steadiness, people feel safer. When you embody honesty, people feel braver. When you embody respect, people respond with respect. Your presence is your power. And when you choose to show up intentionally, with groundedness and truth, you create interactions that reflect your highest values, not your passing emotions. Authenticity is one of the most powerful forces in human relationships because it creates a foundation where mutual respect can grow naturally. When you show up as your real self, without pretending, performing, or hiding, you send a clear message. I trust myself enough to be seen. And when people witness that kind of honesty, they instinctively respond with more respect, more presence, and more integrity. Authenticity is not about sharing every detail or exposing every vulnerability. It's about being aligned, your values, your words, and your actions moving in the same direction. When you are authentic, people don't have to guess who you are or what you stand for. They don't have to decode your intentions or walk on emotional eggshells trying to understand which version of you will show up today. Consistency born from authenticity creates emotional safety, and emotional safety is the birthplace of respect. People respect what feels stable, honest, and true. They respect those who are not afraid to be real because it gives them permission to be real too. In a world where so many perform for approval, authenticity stands out. It disrupts patterns of insecurity and comparison. It invites people to relax their defenses. It says, "You don't need to impress me, you just need to be yourself." And when people feel accepted for who they are, not who they think they should be, they treat you with more care, more openness, and more sincerity. Authenticity inspires reciprocity, but authenticity also requires courage. It means choosing truth over image, even when truth feels uncomfortable. It means admitting mistakes instead of pretending you're flawless. It means expressing your feelings honestly instead of suppressing them to keep the peace. It means setting boundaries that reflect your real needs instead of forcing yourself into roles that drain you. This kind of honesty may push away those who prefer convenience over connection, but it strengthens the relationships that matter. People can feel when you're hiding. They can sense when you're saying yes while your heart says no, when you're pleasing at the expense of your own truth, or when you're wearing a mask to maintain harmony. That lack of authenticity weakens respect because it creates imbalance. When you don't honor your real self, others subconsciously follow your lead. They offer superficial respect, not genuine regard. On the other hand, showing up authentically communicates self-respect. And when people see you respecting yourself, your boundaries, your needs, your voice, they rise to meet that standard. Authenticity becomes an invitation. Meet me where truth lives. It strengthens communication, deepens intimacy, and builds trust that doesn't crumble under pressure. Mutual respect grows when two people can stand in their truth without fear. It grows when honesty replaces guessing, when clarity replaces pretending, and when presence replaces performance. Authenticity is the bridge that connects hearts without distortion. When you show up as who you truly are, you create relationships that honor the real you, and that is the most powerful foundation any connection can have. Self-honor is the quiet force that shapes the world around you. It is the way you carry yourself, the boundaries you enforce, the standards you hold, and the choices you make even when no one is watching. When you honor yourself, your needs, your feelings, your limits, your worth, you set in motion a ripple effect that transforms your environment. People respond to the level of respect you give yourself. They observe how you speak about your life, how you treat your own time, how you allow yourself to be spoken to, and how you advocate for your well-being. These cues teach them whether to approach you with care or convenience, with respect or disregard. Self-honor is not arrogance or self-importance. It is the recognition that your life is valuable, your heart is deserving, and your experiences matter. It means no longer settling for spaces that demean you or relationships that drain you. It means choosing truth over comfort, growth over familiarity, and dignity over approval. When you consistently choose these things, something powerful happens. The environment around you begins to adjust. People who value you move closer. People who take advantage of your softness are forced to step back. People who overlooked you start seeing you clearly because you've stopped dimming yourself to fit into small spaces. When you honor yourself, you stop accepting behavior that betrays your peace. You stop explaining why your boundaries matter and simply enforce them. You stop apologizing for having needs, dreams, and expectations. You stop tolerating what hurts your spirit. Instead, you surround yourself with people and environments that match the respect you give yourself. You become intentional with your time and selective with your energy. You speak with clarity instead of hoping someone will guess your needs. And these changes shift the energy of every room you enter. Environments are shaped by the standards of the people within them. When you raise your standards, your environment must rise too or fall away. Relationships that once depended on your silence struggle to survive when you find your voice. Workplaces that relied on your overcommitment are forced to respect your limits. Friendships built on one-sided effort either become balanced or fade. Nothing stays the same when you choose to honor your worth. The beauty of self-honor is that it invites reciprocity. People who see you valuing yourself feel inspired to do the same. They show up more thoughtfully. They speak more kindly. They listen more deeply. Your example becomes permission for others to treat you with the respect you consistently model. And those who cannot or will not offer that level of regard simply do not fit into the environment you are creating. The truth is simple. Self-honor is magnetic. It attracts what is aligned with your dignity and repels what is not. It shapes the emotional climate around you because people respond differently to someone who carries themselves with grounded confidence. When you honor yourself, you build a life where respect is not demanded but naturally given. Because the energy you embody sets the tone for everything and everyone around you.